housekeeping items. So let's go right into that. We want this presentation to be both informative and interactive. So questions can be submitted during the presentation. We're going to save all of the questions until the end, however. So there's two ways in which you can submit questions. You can submit questions on Twitter via the hashtag AwarenessInc. You can also submit questions in the WebEx chat. We will be saving questions until the end, but feel free to submit them at any time. We'll gather them up at the end of the presentation. You can see here there's the, for those who are having any audio issues, you won't be able to do this, but I do have the number listed there, as well as the access code. If there's any audio issues during the presentation, just let me know via the WebEx chat, and I'll send that dial number and access code to you as well. Another housekeeping item that often comes up is, will we be recording the presentation? And the answer to that is yes. We will be recording today's presentation. We will also be posting the slides online, so you will be able to access those. Probably get those out in an email on Monday. So look for that on Monday. So feel free to take notes. If you miss anything, you will get a recording. If you want to share this with colleagues, you will get a recording. So don't stress. So Jason Miles is a Twitter handler. He's a vice president of marketing, or sorry, vice president of advancement at Northwest University. He's also an adjunct professor, primary marketer at Liberty Jane Clothing, and the author of Pinterest Power. Jason, how are you doing today?
I'm good. How are you?
Good. Well, webinar, so really looking forward to it. And you can see me, that's me there, Sal Gilberto. That's my Twitter handle. Also, if you tweet at AwarenessInc, you most likely be hearing from me answering on the other end. So today's webinar is based on Pinterest Power. Your business, sell your product, and build your brand on the world's hot social network. So now, right now, I definitely recommend it for anybody who's interested in using Pinterest for business. So there's a couple offers that we have here. We get a free download of Chapter 4 up at that bit.ly. If you want to take the bit.ly URL down, or on Monday when I send out the follow-up, I will include that bit.ly URL. You can also purchase Pinterest. It's available, like I said, now. It's available on Amazon, so I have the Amazon link there as well. I'll be repeating these at the end of the webinar, too, so you can write these down at the end of the webinar as well. Into Pinterest Power, I really quickly want to talk to you about what we do at Awareness. Many of you are aware of what we do here, but some of you may be logging into an Awareness webinar for the first time. So Awareness is a company that produces social media software for businesses. Allow you to manage all of your social properties in one piece of software. So think of connecting Twitter, Facebook, Flickr, WordPress, YouTube, others, all into one software interface and managing them all through that. It's a simple-use platform combining social monitoring, profiling, publishing, and engagement for the purposes of customer acquisition. Really, the Awareness Social Marketing Hub makes its bread and butter is with our social marketing automation piece, which can be sort of exemplified by social scoring. So many may be familiar with the topic of lead scoring, sort of people who come into your lead database and you're scoring them based on their activity and things that they fill out. We've done the same thing with social media. Go to the social web, capturing people's information, as well as fans of yours that you already have their information, capturing that information and scoring it. Saying if they've interacted with me 10 times, give them 5 points. If their post contains a certain keyword that I'm looking for, give them 5 points. Have a certain number of followers, give them this many points. So you can build a database, a lead database out of the social networks, turning basically all the social networks into your own database that you can pull from. And then scorecards based on those. So now I know that I have 1,000 people that fall into my scorecard criteria. I have them ranked and sorted according to their score. I can follow up with them for the purposes of ROI. Because for our customers at Awareness, social media is all about generating sales. So we have Major League Baseball using social media for ticket sales, or American Cancer Society for donations. The social marketing automation is the key to sort of generating sales via social media. So I don't want to take up any more time talking about Awareness, because I want to get right into the topic. But if you are interested, please tweet me. My Twitter handle is there. Or you can sign up for a demo via Awareness Social Marketing Hub to learn more and see if it's right for your business. I bit.ly here. I will repeat it at the end as well. So with that, I hand the presentation over to Jason Miles.
Thank you. And let me just say it's terrific to be able to be a part of this today. I'm really honored to be here, and I'm going to be able to share about Pinterest, and hopefully we'll get through the presentation quickly so we get to the Q&A time to make sure that we get as many questions answered as we can. So make sure I'm working here. Yep. Just mention, as Sal pointed out, and thank you, Sal, for mentioning the book, Pinterest Power came out last month. It's doing well. It's a bestseller in the business and entrepreneurship category on Amazon, so that's fun.
Before you started, you're actually coming in a little fuzzy. Can you try to maybe switch to the handset?
Sure. Do that. Am I fuzzy?
No, much better.
Right. Great.
Sorry about that. All right.
No, that's fantastic. So yeah, you have the book, Pinterest Power. It came out last month. It's doing well. Let me just mention that at the end of the call, I've got a special bonus. We did a pre-order bonus for folks last month, and I talked to Sal and said that maybe for the webinar we could brush that off and re-offer it to people who are listening today. And so it's a great offer. It's 25 in-depth videos on marketing on Pinterest. So we'll show you how to get access to that at the end of the presentation. But a little bit more about me. As Sal mentioned, I'm the Vice President of Advancement, so that's Marketing and Fundraising and Human Resources at Northwest University. I teach every fall in the School of Business Management. And then really the emphasis for our Pinterest work has to do with the business I started with my wife. We founded it in 2008 around her unique skills, and we started on eBay. And we've grown it over the last 4.5 years. It's now a thriving six-figure business. And we have a team of 5 people that are dynamic, and Pinterest really radically changed our business. And so I started blogging about that fact. And then what happened next was, the book came out from it. We actually use Pinterest for customer acquisition and engagement for Liberty Jane Clothing. I'll talk through the metrics and details of Liberty Jane Clothing for you just so you understand what it is. And then through the course of the next 40 minutes or so, I really want to dive into the current state of Pinterest and how it's used, and what we've learned in our research for the book, and best practices, how specifically you can use Pinterest to move the needle for customer acquisition or engagement. So if you want to just see what we do on Pinterest, you can obviously hop on and find our profiles, which is focused mostly on my blogging and book work, is pinterest.com/Jason Miles. And then if you search for it, you can search for marketing on Pinterest, and you'll find me there. Wife's profile is the one that we use for our company, so it's pinterest.com/CinnaMiles, cinnamon just like the spice. And that's the profile we use for the business. She's what you might call our front person, celebrity endorsement in our niche, representative. So we use it, and that's what we want to talk about today. My wife's business, the Liberty Jane Clothing business, is focused on her ability to design doll clothes, of all things. So it's a very small niche. Basically what she does is design clothes. We sell them at auction on eBay. That's how we started 5 years ago, and we continue to do it today. And she publishes them as PDF files. The patterns and the patterns are downloaded from LibertyJanePatterns.com. So you can see that's a screenshot for Liberty Jane Patterns. We've just celebrated 200,000 patterns being downloaded. I think last month it was about 8,000 patterns downloaded. So it's growing in influence, and it's filling a need in a very, very small niche. Our main website is LibertyJaneClothing.com. You check that out if you'd like to. Don't worry, I'm not trying to sell you doll clothes today. You can social reach here a little bit. We've got 21,000 subscribers to our newsletter. We started originally in terms of social engagement on YouTube, actually, and have 8,500 subscribers to our YouTube channel, about 1.5 million video views, and really learned how to do social engagement on YouTube and got into Facebook after that. On Facebook, our fan page has got about 22,000 fans or likers. Our Pinterest profile now has about 4,300 subscribers, and then we're just pioneering our efforts in Instagram. and about 450 subscribers. The traffic to our website, just to give you a frame of reference, hopefully you can see it on that slide adequately. Last month we had 47,000 unique visitors to LibertyJanePatterns.com, 6,000 visits, 429,000 page views. Average page view per visit was 5.6. Average visit duration was 4 minutes and 24 seconds. And about almost 60% of our visitors were new visitors to the site. So that gives a little bit of just for reference for our business and the size and scope of it. So the Pinterest story for us is really what generated the idea for the book and my blogging work. And so let me just tell you that story a little bit and how Pinterest has impacted our business, and then we'll jump into how Pinterest can be used for, for your business potentially. So for business, we have traffic coming from a lot of different sources. Obviously, we've done intentional work around YouTube contests and YouTube efforts and Facebook. We get lots of referral links from lots of different places. This chart shows you our traffic growth from Pinterest to LibertyJanePatterns.com from July of 2011 till January of 2012. And we launched our Pinterest profile for the business in December 2011. And you can see the growth rate tracking there. The visits in December of 2011 were 1,141. And then in January of 2012, 2019 visits came from Pinterest to our website. And if you fast forward to today, I just looked at the stats for this last month. So for the month of November, we had 5,700 visits from Pinterest to the same site. The referral links is the other thing that we were very, very interested in as we went to Pinterest, and we're still very fascinated by. As last where you can see we had 652 referral links in Pinterest pointing towards LibertyJanePatterns.com, and I pulled the stats for that, and it's over 7,400 referral links today in Pinterest pointing to our site. And just as a frame of reference, I think when I did this work originally, I looked how many referral links do we have in Facebook, pointing to the pattern site, and it was like a dozen. And so even almost a year ago, Pinterest was blowing our mind in terms of the amount of referral links and traffic it was sending. If you do a comparison right now in this last month to Facebook and YouTube, I just pulled up those stats. Facebook drove 1,089 visitors to LibertyJanePatterns.com in the month, and YouTube drove 545. So Pinterest has become, 5 times meaningful in terms of traffic than Facebook profile, and 10 times more meaningful than our YouTube profile. And so clearly, it's one of our leading sources of traffic, and clearly our best source of social traffic. So you might be wondering, well, what did it do to your revenue? How did it impact sales? Are you tracking that? And the answer is we are. We're learning to track it more and more, and working hard to figure out how to quantify the impact. So this set of charts shows you one part of our business, the first part, which is our auction business. So auctions every spring and fall. It's this that my wife designs. And so you can see on the left-hand chart, it's a history of the prices for our eBay auctions and how they ended. That represents our work from last year, 2011, into the spring of 2012. And so on our left-hand side, you can see the word Lightning Ridge. That represents spring of 2011. And on the far right-hand side, you can see Roebuck Bay. That represents the spring of 2012. And outfit names, if you were wondering, and the auction results. So in terms of the price, you can see that on the left side, we had fairly consistent pricing occurring, and that's been true for the last few years. Our auction results would end in around $100 sale price for doll clothes, which is easy from most people's perspective. And then you can see between MHS, which is Malibu High School, and Founders Day, we see our Pinterest profile work kick in and the really dramatic traffic start to occur from Pinterest. And the springtime prices obviously skyrocketed. So the last spring auction ended at $350 for the doll outfit. And you can see on the right-hand side the visits. The nice part about eBay is that it lets you see how many people view your auction. And you can see we had a stable number of visitors, and this goes back for quite a few years, up to 500 visitors per auction, pretty common for us. Rather exceptional for eBay, but that was about what the trend had been for a few years for us. And in the spring of this last year, it just skyrocketed up. The view coming to those auctions escalated up, 1,500 to 2,500 views in that range. And so it was the result occurred in the most, I guess you might say, the most responsive sell context in which we could measure and understand how the traffic being generated from Pinterest was helping us. You might just wonder as well about our pure revenue stats, and I'm happy to share them. In December of 2011, our total revenue was $11,000. In January 2012, the month after we launched our Pinterest profile, it doubled to $22,000. It has continued to grow since then. So we see our Pinterest profile is really a point in time where we can say some amazing benefits began to occur. We are tracking specific results from Pinterest and very, very positive metrics associated with what's occurring for our business in Pinterest. So that's why we're so excited about Pinterest. That's why we started blog about it on marketingonpinterest.com, and then ultimately wrote the book about it. And our story is not unique. As we did the book, we interviewed people like Berta Style, ModCloth, who you might be familiar with. They're a very, very dynamic online seller in the trendy clothes niche. And so their stories are all very, very similar. They learned about Pinterest through their user community. The traffic started to really, really impress them, and then they learned how to do a marketing plan to support and sustain the growth. And we hear that from companies over and over and over. It seems to be the pattern that is clearly occurring. So look through current state of Pinterest. Maybe you're new to it. Maybe you haven't been paying attention. You're on social media overloaded and you just can't fathom the idea of jumping into another social media site. A lot of people are struggling with that. Let me talk about the current state to just make sure that we all understand where we're at in terms of what's occurring with Pinterest, and then jump into best practices and talk about some specifics that you can do to make that you're leveraging the opportunity as best you can. So the first thing that Pinterest started to do was catch people's attention as it relates to the speed of growth. And magazine chronicled the growth rate in April 2012 in their issue that focused on Pinterest. And they have this nice chart. Hopefully you can read it okay, but basically it talks about growth rate from 50,000 unique users to 17 million and how long it took to get to that spot, 50 to 17 million. And so it kind of chronicles that. It looks back. Tumblr, it took 30 months. Twitter took 22 months. Facebook, it took 16 months. And YouTube, it took 12 months. And I don't know if you remember it, but, back in 2005, it just seemed like YouTube really came on the scene from nowhere and was then immediately installed as the default, strategy and video platform. And it just caught people so aware and installed itself permanently in that spot. But Pinterest has grown faster than YouTube did, from 50,000 unique visitors to 17 million. It did it in 9 months. Which everybody at the time started saying, that's the fastest growth website in history, unaided. You could say Google Plus grew faster, but obviously that's a different context. Pinterest has become the fastest growing website in the history of the Internet. It has continued to grow, although it ebbs and flows. Ben Silbermann, the founder, said that from the very beginning, he saw the growth rate of Pinterest at about 40% per month. It started with an insanely small user community. That was sort of the statistic that they became accustomed to, was 40% growth per month. And obviously that's going to slow down, but it has been an amazing trajectory of growth. Robert Moore from RJ Metrics says that Pinterest demonstrates some of the strongest user engagement, retention, and virality metrics they've ever seen in an online business. The piece that became sort of an amazing stat here just in the last few months was that Pinterest dethroned the Yahoo network and moved into the fourth slot for driving traffic online. So the best four sources of traffic online are now Google organic search, directly typing a domain name into the browser, and Facebook, and then Pinterest. And that is a shocking statistic. I don't know that people know that that's occurred yet, but when you think about it, just in the couple of years that Pinterest has been around, to launch itself into that spot is absolutely phenomenal. And if you can read this chart on the right-hand side, the share of visitors, Facebook has 5.9% of share of visitors that it's driving, and Pinterest has 1.84. The user base obviously is minuscule still, Pinterest compared to Facebook. So give it another year or 2 years. It'll be very, very interesting to see how that goes and whether it doesn't challenge Facebook to become what you basically would call is the best website on the internet for driving traffic. Obviously, organic search and direct typing into a browser is sort of a different category. So that's been just in the last few months, the most recent development. And then Marketing Pilgrim just a recent post about a business case for Pinterest, and they pulled some fantastic stats. I thought I'd share some of them with you. For ComScore, they say Pinterest buyers spend more money, more often, and on items than any other of the top 5 social media sites. Shop.org says U.S. consumers who use Pinterest follow an average of 9.3 retail companies on the site. Pins, which include a price, receive 36% more likes according to Shopify. Pinterest generates 4 times as much revenue per click as Twitter, and 27% more revenue per click than Facebook, according to Converto. 47% of U.S. online consumers have made a purchase based on recommendations from Pinterest, according to Blogger. And Pinterest is retaining and engaging users as much as 2 to 3 times as efficiently as Twitter was at a similar time in history, according to RJ Metrics. A few more of these, but we could go on and on. People with a Pinterest account, 21% have purchased an item after seeing it on Pinterest, according to Nielsen and ComScore. And the quote that you probably heard before, which is quite common and got quite a bit of media play, which is that Pinterest is generating real traffic for businesses more than Google+, YouTube, and LinkedIn combined, according to Pollock. And obviously, from our perspective, you ask the question, why is that occurring? And you may be wondering, well, why exactly is this occurring? And it gets back to the concept I talked to you about at the beginning when I mentioned the referral links that we see driving people towards LibJane patterns. Basically, the idea that's sort of a novelty is this function that you perform. YouTube is to watch a video, right? And maybe you'll leave a comment. You might subscribe to someone's channel. The social function that you do in Facebook is leave a comment. The social function that you do on Twitter is, respond or retweet. The social function in Pinterest is to repin the item. And pinning it, you duplicate the referral link that was built into the original. So every social action that's the primary social action in Pinterest is create more and more and more referral links. So that number is skyrocketing, and it's driving just incredible volumes of traffic. Okay. So I just mentioned 4 elements of things that you're getting from a Pinterest acquired lead. The first thing is that they're self-identified. You're getting people at Pinterest who are revealing themselves to you, saying, I want to learn more about what you do. I'm interested in what you're pinning, and they're raising their hand. The other thing that is nice about them is you're getting them in a non-defensive context. So, people are used to being marketed to on YouTube. They're used to being marketed to on Facebook, and everybody kind of tolerates that for the benefit of using the service. The social sharing that's occurring right now on Pinterest, at least, is purely just organic, and the growth of it means that the investment of traffic and things being shared is really fantastic. People see content in a context in which they are not defensive, and obviously in a sales environment, it's one of the biggest hurdles is to get in front of people where they're open and receptive to your message. The third thing that people are doing in Pinterest is sharing their preferences with you. So people will either start following one of your boards or all of them. You can see what boards they've created, what other boards they're following. You can begin to understand more about your user community and what they find appealing and interesting about you and your offerings. And the thing is that they're saying yes. They're saying yes when they pin content about you. They're saying yes when they click through to your site. They're saying yes when they like or comment your pins. So the traffic that you're getting is what we found in our experience is very, very significant in terms of being ready and open to hear your message. So a lot of people hear me talk about Pinterest, and I'll get people to almost immediately raise a question or objection, and there are a few that are very, very common that I hear. So I thought I'd just talk for a moment about myths and known issues. The first one is, isn't this just a women's thing? And, is it really appropriate for products or, things that might appeal to a male demographic? And so what we say is that Ben Silbermann, when he described Pinterest starting, said that it started with a user community of Midwestern moms and Mormons. And so that was the original community that started in and became effective and popular in. But I liken that to Facebook starting on college campuses. And as it grows, it's transcending that demographic, just like as Facebook grew, it transcended the college demographic. It's the case in the UK that it was an original user community of what I might call Silicon Valley type men primarily, and that was their original demographic and user community in the UK. Obviously, there it's transcending that original user community, and will likely take on user statistics similar to Facebook, which I am just off my head recalling that's roughly like 58% women or so. And I would say over time, if Pinterest continues to scale, it will likely take on user statistics similar to that. The concern people have is, isn't it only for physical product sellers or people who have stuff, Etsy sellers or stuff on Amazon? And if you look at the most popular users in Pinterest, what we find is the leaders, the key influencers, are not physical product sellers, but they are frequently in a visual niche or marketplace. So style leaders, design leaders, information curators, people who are focused on providing content that's visual content frequently for a unique niche or demographic. I recently interviewed someone who has 1.5 million followers on Pinterest. She focuses on the homeschool niche and on tools, educational tools for teachers. And so that's what her focus is, and she's killing it with her community. All right? The third thing I hear is that Pinterest doesn't encourage or doesn't want you to be using it if you're a business. And people were confused about this. Obviously, there was no functionality that made it seem like businesses could use it up until just this last month when they rolled out their suite of business tools. But it always had a place for business. It always featured businesses on its blog. There was never a time in which they didn't encourage businesses to use it. In April of 2012, they changed their terms of for service to remove the phrase, don't be self-promotional in their etiquette section because that was confusing some business and marketing people. But it is business. They're open for business. In the last month, they've rolled out a whole suite of services that are designed for business, and it's clearly the case. So let me just run through some best practices quickly with you, and we've got 10 minutes before we want to jump into Q&A. First best practice is you don't actually need to start on Pinterest to make you're doing things right. You need to download their Pin Marklet tool. It's a bookmark add-on for your browser, and what it does is allow you to hit the Pin It button on any website that you're on. You download their tool, have it in your browser, and then update your own website. What you want to do is make sure that every page or post on your website has content, image content, that tells a story about that page or post. And tons of bloggers haven't done this for years, and they really need to figure out how to go back and modify what they've done previously, or at minimum change their business practice so that there's a meaningful image associated with every page or post. Lots of content bloggers, content marketers are now using something, I call it a promo graphic. You can see Kissmetrics' example is there on the right. It's just a little ad for the article. So in this case, it's 5 important lessons for content marketing royalty. So people will pin that. It's as a visual marker so that if someone's interested in that topic, they know to click through from Pinterest through to the blog and read the content. When you pin it bookmark on your website, you want to see a lot of image options. If this is what a customer would see, and so this is a page on LibertyJanePatterns.com. You can see a whole collection of different images that they might like to choose from. So it's rich content. And the customer can choose to pin one of these images or just the one that fits exactly how they want to share it in Pinterest. You don't want to see this very often, and Sal, I picked on you just for fun, but if you go to a website page, and this is from awarenessnetworks.com, and you hit the pin it button, and you see this pop up, sorry, we couldn't find any pinnable images or video on this page. That's the error 404 type message. I mean, it's saying that you don't have anything that will work for a Pinterest user, and you really don't want to see that often. Second best practice you can pick up is jump into Pinterest and create a professional profile. You have to choose whether you want to do a corporate approach or a corporate spokesperson. Obviously, in our case, Cinnamon is our corporate spokesperson, and her profile is a personal profile focused on her work at the company. It's yours to choose from, but you obviously need to have a professional headshot, a greeting message. You want to have a statement about who you are, your company, what the company does. It's hard to pack in enough of the story, but you want to think through how to do that in your profile. Obviously, you want to have links to your Facebook page or your website as well. You fill out your profile. The best practice you want to take on is you go to your Google Analytics and your analytics package for your website, and you want to see where traffic is coming specific from Pinterest to your website. So look at the referral section of, if it's Google Analytics, the referral section, and you can see traffic. You'll begin to see which specific pins are the most traffic. You can see this is just the top 5. I pulled this up the other day. Referral traffic from Pinterest to LibertyPatterns.com. The top pin drove 442 visits. Their pages per visit weren't that great, 1.46. Their time on site wasn't that great, 1 minute and 15 seconds. The percent of new visitors was very low. But if you'll go down to the 4th pin there, you can that pin drove 212 visits, 3.18 pages per visit, on site 2 minutes 27 seconds, and 81% of those people were new to our website. So you can see which pins are working and which individual pinners are really being a great champion for you. And obviously you want to like their pins, you want to comment on them, you want to follow them, and you want to repin their content. Fourth thing you can do is develop a marketing plan. This is the marketing plan I put on my blog almost a year ago now. It was our starting plan, and it's gotten shared a lot across the internet. The 4 steps include this: create an authority profile, which I just talked about. Invite your existing fans, followers, and customers to jump into Pinterest and follow you. The best strategy you can do is invite them in. Obviously, they'll bond with all their friends, find their own friends on Pinterest. They'll start repinning your content, and you'll gain access to their social circle. The third thing you want to do is really serve as a visual curator for your specific niche, and get very, very focused on what you're going to pin, and create content in Pinterest that will appeal to them and their interests. And the fourth thing is use it as an insider's view into your business. Use it as a way to generate interest and enthusiasm. One of the things you can do is run contests. The EOS allows it. My last reading, and I interviewed Pinterest for the book, and they didn't indicate in any way that they're going to be anti-contest. So it's a great way to drive traffic and engage with your own user community and gain access to their friends. The fifth thing you do is consider third-party solutions. As your profile scales, you're going to have to decide how you can best, navigate these waters. We used a couple different tools. In the book, I interviewed ModCloth and their marketing team. They've got about 1.5 million followers in Pinterest right now, and are just do an amazing job with contests and engaging content. Rave about Curate. It's a third-party solution. It lets you, serve as a platform to connect. It aggregates information in an interesting way. They've about it for their business. We tried for LibertyJanePatterns.com. My didn't like it too much, to be honest, and so we went too deep with it. But I've got a big social influence, and you think you're going to have a big reach in Pinterest, that you probably want to work towards, a third-party solution like Curate. Awareness Network, I imagine in the near future will come out with a version of their own third-party solution for this type of tool. So, who knows? Maybe Sal will roll that out in the near future.
I hope so.
Yeah. And obviously they don't have an open API right now, so it's that's a limitation. But people are figuring out how to engage and make useful tools nonetheless. The other tool that is of interest for everyone, and I personally visit this site frequently. It keeps me coming back. It keeps me interested. Is Pinreach.com, and it's in essence like the Clout for Pinterest, and it gives you a Pinreach score. And so you can see my little graph there. My Pinreach score is 45. Cinnamon's for the business is 52. It lets you see who's following you that has a significant Pinreach score. So that's fascinating. It lets you see what content is the most popular that you've pinned, which boards created that are the most popular, those types of metrics. So that's another way in which to have a third-party solution, and they're coming out every day. So those are the two that I talk about, but it's very well be the case that are the bigger, better ones, coming out sometime soon. So some best practices, things that have worked for us. Obviously, the last best practice I would suggest is go deeper and learn more. And obviously, it's a plug for my book, but if you're not familiar with Pinterest adequately and you really want to understand or have someone on your team start to understand how to really leverage Pinterest, then, it's 5,000 words focused on how to do marketing. It's not a book about the technical elements of Pinterest. It's really about marketing strategy and integration. So the bonus that I told you about, and I told you I was going to kind of dust off and offer to you again, is a 25-part video guide, and it's in-depth screencast videos that walk you through all kinds of issues and elements, from startup all to the best marketing strategies and tactics we know how to do, and we show that how you do them, and so it's a great resource. If you want the 25-part video guide as a bonus, pick a copy of the book, and then just forward your receipt to support@libertyjanepatterns.com, and Tammy on our team will get you access to the video site. It's a Kajabi site, and so she'll get you the access, username and password, and then you can jump on that and start digging into the videos. There are actually a few other bonuses in there, an Etsy guide and a YouTube guide. We tell how we get 0.5 million video views in YouTube, stuff like that. That's the offer, and hopefully it will help you learn more and go deeper. If you pick up somebody else's book or if you just start reading blogs, fantastic. That's my best suggestion for you at this point if you feel you're still missing some basics on how to be effective in Pinterest. So 45 minutes after, and I'm sure we get plenty of time for Q&A, so I'm happy to weave back into this with you, Sal, and help answer questions.
Yeah, Jason, thank you so much. And we have a ton of questions.
Cool.
Sir. So, let me just rest back. Yes, it's time for Q&A. Do you have some questions to answer? You can continue to send those questions in the WebEx chat or at Twitter at #AwarenessInc. Is what we're using. I'll also flash back up the Chapter 4 download link, the purchase of Pinterest Power, and the link to request a demo of the Awareness Social Marketing Hub. I'm glad that you left a lot of time because looks like we have a lot to talk about.
Awesome.
Where to start? One was on some of the specific tools. Sorry, I just lost my spot because a bunch of questions just came in. Where they go? Someone was just asking about. So you mentioned Curelate, Pinfluencer, and PinLeague. I don't know if you use those. Have any opinion on those? One's better than the other.
Yeah, to be honest, I get people who send me links to new tools very frequently, and I just literally haven't had time to digest them and think through the value proposition. So I really don't speak to ones that I'm not familiar with. I'm familiar with PinReach and use it, and with Curelate. So there are going to be great tools popping up all the time. So it's just a matter of research and discovery.
Awesome. One question I had is you talked about a month ago Pinterest releasing some more business-friendly tools.
Yes.
Some questions coming in about that, so maybe you want briefly about what those were. Are.
Yeah. And I blogged about this on Pinterest.com in a blog, and so there's a full article that kind of goes all those details. Just rattle off some of it for you real brief. First of all, they updated the terms of service, so there's a clear TOS for business owners and marketers. There was never one before, and there was no section that focused on business use. So TOS is clear now. It's a personal use TOS on one side or a business use TOS on the other, and choose what's appropriate for you. They created a resource section for businesses that has case studies, best practices, that kind of thing. They rolled out a verification method so that if you're a webmaster, you can verify that your Pinterest profile is the official profile, and then they give you a little bit of turf on your profile that kind of features your domain name. So it's sort of a way to reinsure for your view in Pinterest that you're really, who you say you are as a company. They rolled out some widgets and buttons to help integrate content into sites, and they set up a profile function for users. If you're a company or a business, there's a path now in the registration process for you, and so you don't have to put your company name in the first name box and something else in the last name box like you used to. And the last thing they did is secret boards. It has a user application for individuals, but it also has a user application for businesses. The strategy with secret boards for businesses is now you can collect a great board, a pin board full of content on a topic and make it public. And it comes immediately followed by everyone who follows all of your boards. So you don't have to build a board publicly in terms of content. So that's secret boards. But blog post on marketingonpinterest.com go into each one of those. Yeah.
Cool. The biggest question that we have coming in is, I know you did mention an example of sort of like a non-product based successful Pinterest user, but we're getting a lot of questions about B2B, services based, healthcare. So there are a couple other examples, a couple other tips maybe. I don't know exactly what people are asking as far as the challenge, but it might be just, if I feel like I have the visual content, how do I participate?
Yeah, I gotcha. It's a question. I actually have a little chart. You know, what I did just informally was I went to Pinterest.com and I looked at who the most influential people were, and then looked at their top 10 pins, the ones that were most popular, and looked to see what stuff they were pinning, what type of thing they were pinning. And as I said, they're not all product people. In fact, most of them weren't product people. And of the top 10 most influential, people, top pins that they pinned, this is how it broke down. 3 of the 10 were food items, so they're selling insurance. That doesn't help you. 2 of the 10 were clothing related, so that doesn't help you. But 3 out of the 10 were quotes. It was a DIY type deal, like how to do this, how to do that. And then one was just a nice picture, just please the photographic quality. If you're an insurance guy, or if you've got a consulting business or whatever, what you need to do is think about who is my target customer. Can I create a collection of pin boards that speaks specifically their interests, needs, fears, frustrations, hopes, dreams? You want to be a curator of content for them, and that transcends products, because tons and tons of content is literally just a link to a blog post about, how to avoid foreclosure or how to get a better insurance rate. Those are information marketing, content marketing topics, and anybody who's in a service business can play that game. Hopefully that helps.
Yeah, definitely. I'm going to a couple questions into one question, kind of.
I'll go fast.
So I don't want to get into sort of, I click on this, what does this button do, what does that button do? But I'll sort of gather these questions into sort of like a general Pinterest etiquette,
sure.
Meaning people who are really new to this, when should they repin someone else's pin? When should they be creating a board versus a new Pinterest account? Should they comment? When should they follow somebody's boards? I think there's a little confusion as to sort of the actual activity besides posting on Pinterest. Yep.
Well, obviously you want to build a collection of pin boards that work for your user community that are of interest. You upload that stuff directly from your own websites or your own products, whatever, great. You can also source it from within Pinterest. 80% of all the pins are actually repins. So that is the primary social behavior. So tons of content in Pinterest already that you can aggregate into one board that would be of interest to your users. The construction part, the building part. The social part is identify people who are interested in your topic. They're in their hand every time they repin something of yours. and read their content, follow them, leave a comment or like. As a marketer, you don't care what your feed in Pinterest looks like. You're not using it for your own personal consumption. So over time, as you start to follow more and more people because they like you and they like your topic, you don't care what Pinterest looks like for your use. And so that's sort of different. People have to get their mind around that. Using it for your audience, you're not using it for your own personal consumption.
That's an interesting topic there that you sort of started with saying, relevant for your audience. So, because we had a couple people ask, should I create more boards for this or more boards for that? So what you're saying is if you have 2 or 3 or many distinct, flows of information that, this image, this information just totally does not pertain to the people that would be interested in this image. That's when I would sort of create just a whole other Pinterest account versus another board. Is that fair to say?
Yeah, I would say people who manage multiple brands should do multiple Pinterest accounts. But if you have, if you're in social media space, then you could have pin boards for YouTube, Facebook, mobile, stuff like that. You kind of have to decide how you want to break it. I follow some librarians that are insanely detailed about how they chop stuff up. You go to Pinterest and see who's doing it really well and categorize their niche. Be a good idea.
Yeah, just a reminder to everyone that questions can be submitted in the next chat. They can be submitted on Twitter at #AwarenessInc. There's questions coming in. Yes, we are recording today's webinar. And the slides will also be available for download as well. We'll be sending out an email follow-up probably on Monday with those. So I'll have access to those. Another question that's sort of coming in at times is sort of why do you think Pinterest is as successful and growing as much as it is, especially relative to other image such as Instagram and Flickr? And also combine this with another question of how do you see Pinterest eventually making their money, and how does this affect marketers if you think it's going to be something like promoted pins or something like that?
Yeah. The reason I think they're incredibly popular is because they executed brilliantly in terms of what they were trying to accomplish. It was wholly different than what was out at the time. Back when they came out a couple years ago, real-time sharing was all anyone thought about. They built a site that was totally not about real-time sharing. So the thing that it's most similar to is YouTube, because content you share on Pinterest literally has a great half-life. And the people at Bitly did research to say, well, how long is a socially shared item good? Facebook, Twitter, YouTube, Pinterest. They're still researching Pinterest and haven't released their results, but I would guarantee you that it's an amazingly long half-life, meaning half of the interaction, comes in a certain amount of time. They have those documented numbers for Twitter, Facebook, YouTube. So it's that is much more stable. That I showed at the beginning when I showed you which were our best pins. If you click through to those, you can see those people pinned that content 30 weeks ago, 40 weeks ago. So we're still getting great traffic from pins that happened long ago. Now, business perspective, what that means is you spend time building your Pinterest influence and a lot longer influence and impact than if they're tweeting all day long or doing work on Facebook. Just hands down better because of the half-life issue and how long that referral traffic is going to be flowing into your site. So I think it works for individual users. I think it works amazingly well for companies as well, and that's why it's selling so well.
Cool. A user here that says, I've seen Pinterest kiosk stands at the local shopping center. I think that's cool. That's not a question. I just thought that was cool.
Wow.
I would share it. I have a couple questions coming in here. Just really simply, I know you covered this a little bit, but it is coming in. So, how do you get more followers? I think people think they, The critical mass is where to start, you know?
Yeah. And where a lot of hard Twitter users basically screw up. I mean, the deal is in Pinterest, the follow 10,000 people, so they'll follow, 20% will follow you back. Doesn't work. If you look at, again, sorry, I just keep mentioning PinReach because it's been so helpful for me to understand this stuff. You look at the most popular people, and by the way, I'm not associated with them in any way. You look at the most popular people on Pinterest and look at how many people they follow, it's a minuscule number. But look at the number of things they've pinned, it's huge relative to the average user. The only way to grow your followership in Pinterest that I know is on-site and content a couple times a day, and people repin it, they see you in the feed, and they follow you. The old, follow me and I'll follow you back Twitter strategy does not play well in Pinterest. So start with a commitment to being in it every day and pinning for 10 or 15 minutes, maybe a few minutes in the morning and a few minutes in the afternoon and the evening.
Okay. Really, I think that's important. I don't think that's something that's immediately obvious because, like you said, people come from Twitter and don't know that.
Yep.
So hope everybody heard that. Good question that just came in. Calls to action on comments. Is that a yes or no? What are your thoughts on that?
If you're the people who want your, you're talking to the right people, then a call to action is your minimum acceptable behavior. If it's spammy stuff, then no. But if you're some, water and they're thirsty, let them know about it. Yeah, so it's got to be appropriate. You can have a link in your comments, and it's a link, so that's a lot.
Mm-hmm. Awesome. And we're running up against it, so we have a ton of questions, and I'm sorry to everybody that we couldn't get all of them. I'll end it on this one because this one did come up a little bit. You mentioned the sort of current Twitter demographics and where it's going, but that's just where it's starting, and it's eventually going to demographics is going to shift more to what you see in other social networks and sort of even out. So a question came up where should I start it now or should I wait till the demographics shift more to my target audience? And what do you say to those people?
And the way it's referring traffic to our site, I know that dog clothes sewing stuff is a women's issue more than a men's, but I would say now, as people jump in, they'll see that you have a meaningful presence, and they'll like you immediately because other people like you, and I no reason to hesitate at this. I would be all over it if you're not already. Just mention how we can do chat and keep going a little bit. I'm happy to do that if you want.
Absolutely. Like I said, we didn't get to all these questions just because we had a ton of them. So hashtag Awareness Inc. is where we were having these questions. So we'll keep chatting at Awareness Inc. After this presentation. We're going to end in a minute. So I'll hop on and Jason will hop on. We'll try to get to those, get to as many of them as we can. Other homework for everybody. If you don't have your Pinterest account set up for yourself and for your business, your homework is to do so. For those of you who do have it set up, go and something and repin something right now, just so that you don't forget and you get that muscle memory. And Jay, thank you for joining us. And to our audience, thank you for joining us and thank you for spending the time.
It was great to be here. Really, really appreciate the opportunity and happy to connect with everybody.
Awesome. Thank you, everyone. Keep pinning.